Welcome back to the Balancing Act podcast. I'm Andy Temte. On the Balancing Act, we talk to business leaders and industry experts to explore the balancing acts we play in our professional lives and learn about the events that put rocket boosters behind their career success. Today, we have Blane Ruschak joining us. Blane is the president of the PhD Project. The PhD Project encourages and supports historically underrepresented candidates on their journey to acquiring a PhD in business. Blane is also the former executive director of campus recruiting for KPMG in the United States. Welcome to the show, Blane.
Thank you, Andy. Glad to be here.
Excellent. Well, before we get started, I ask all of my guests this question. Please tell our listeners the short version of your story.
Okay, well, we'll kind of try to keep it short. So I went to school and got my degree in economics at Rutgers University. Told my parents as soon as I was done with that, I'd go to graduate school somewhere warm, and they didn't believe me. So I applied to all schools in California, except on a whim, I applied to the University of Hawaii. I wound up getting accepted into their MBA program with free tuition and a stipend. And so, aloha to my parents. I went off to Hawaii, wound up changing my major to accounting and started with KPMG. And then the next 42 years, I was in auditing for about 10 of those years. In between, I did a 2-year rotation in our Montville Training and Development Group. I also did a 1-year stint in our San Jose office. I eventually then transferred to our Long Beach office and split my time between healthcare audit and healthcare consulting. Then I moved into recruiting full-time, first for just the Western area, and then eventually into the national role where I oversaw campus recruiting for all of KPMG. About 5 years ago, the firm came to me and said, we'd really like you to take on this new opportunity, which was to be president of the PhD Project. The former president who started the PhD Project was retiring, and they felt I was the appropriate person for the role because of my involvement with higher ed, all those years through campus recruiting, my appreciation and understanding for the importance of diversity in education, et cetera. So here I am, almost 5 years into that role, and very excited that this is kind of the way I can kind of smooth out my career with a very, very purposeful and meaningful opportunity here.
That's fantastic, and I'm really interested in introducing our listeners to the work of the PhD Project. But before we get there, was there one event in your life that just put rocket boosters behind your career? If so, what is it?
That's a great question. And I would say that my aha moment where suddenly everything, the light came out, the stars and moon were aligned, was when I was in Long Beach working in that split audit and healthcare consulting. I knew at that point I did not want to be an audit partner or a consulting partner, that my passion really lied with the recruiting, which I was doing kind of part-time, helping out with recruiting. And I was also teaching classes for the firm. And that was my kind of passion. But there was no full-time job for that in the firm. Everything like that was kind of a rotational. And I got a call from my partner who, knew that I wanted to make a change. And he said, guess what? The firm just decided to create full-time recruiting roles. Are you interested? If so, go see the managing partner in the Los Angeles office. I did. And a week later, I was the first employee hired into the full-time recruiting group. And I'll say for me, it was life-changing because suddenly my passion and interest aligned perfectly with my job. And the next, 20, 22 years went by like nothing. I mean, I just took on new roles and everything was just an amazing chance to kind of explore new ventures, new strategies. So for me, that was the moment where I was like, and my advice to students is really search for something you're passionate about, because when you find it, you'll know. And when you find it, you'll know that it's not about that 8-to-5 job anymore. Like you get up every day just wanting to go to work and make a difference. So for me, that was my special moment.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I'm a finance professor by training and University of Iowa, so we're both Big Ten or in that, and so we the work that you did over those years to recruit students, to talk about accountancy careers with students on campuses. I just want to personally thank you for all that work. It might have felt like it went by like nothing, but the work you did was really important.
And I loved it. So it's hard to have someone say, thank you for something I love doing so much. But it was a match made in heaven for me. That was like the perfect path.
Awesome. Well, there's so much to talk about today, but let's start with the PhD project. Can you give us the 3-minute elevator pitch on what the PhD project is all about?
Absolutely. So, and I'll take this back to my recruiting days. In the late 90s, when I moved into recruiting, we were challenged, we being KPMG and all the other professional services firms, to hire more diverse talent into business. And when you'd go to schools, business schools, especially accounting, you would see very little diversity. It was literally, a few African American, a few Hispanic students. If you found a Native American student, it was like a bonus. And so all the firms did is fight with each other over that small core of people. And finally, KPMG got together with 3 other very, special organizations to say, maybe we need to fix this by taking a different approach. And so the hypothesis was maybe the reason why more diverse students were not going to business because they saw no one that looked like them when they went to a business school. Right? There was no Black professors, no Hispanic professors. And so the hypothesis was if we can change the face of the classroom, that will change the face of that will change the classroom makeup itself. And so we embarked on the PhD project mission. So in 1994, we were able to measure there were 294 faculty of color at all the business schools across the entire U.S. So if you do the math on that, that's like less than 1 per school. Now, 30 years later, we're celebrating our 30-year anniversary. We have over 1,700 faculty of color at business schools and about 250 students in the PhD pipeline, with the sole purpose of having people that are mentors or role models to attract more diverse students, but also in today's world, for those majority students to have the experience in the classroom of a different perspective, a professor who's bringing a different cultural background, different ideas. And so it's been really a huge success. We just wish we can get more professors because the dynamics of the student population, increasing, especially the Hispanic and Latino population, increasing at a record number, and we're not keeping up with that in terms of getting faculty in the classroom. But that's been our mission, and we've been successful at it for 30 years. We have a 70% graduation rate, which is unheard of for PhD programs, and 97%. It's a 90% graduation rate, and 97% wind up going into academia. So our mission of getting people in the classroom pretty much is almost at that 100% mark, which is, pretty amazing. And that's where we make a difference.
Yeah, well, if we had an applause track on this show, there would be thunderous applause right now. That is just a wonderful, wonderful mission. Can you highlight a few of the PhD project's most impactful success stories for us? Just 1 or 2 would be great.
Yeah. So I'll do one that's an individual. An individual, came up, went through the PhD project, became a professor, and then a dean, and then very quickly was offered a presidency position in Oregon. And Oregon is not a very diverse state, and he went out there and, with various challenges, but was able to really make differences at that university, in a place where people thought that could not happen. And so kudos to him. He's now opening up a huge, brand new business school in Nigeria. So our members make impacts not only in the U.S., but all over the world because of what they bring to the table. The second will be more of a group, so rather than individuals. We pride ourselves in the fact that we don't just help get people to get their PhDs. We hope that someday they'll want to serve in an administrative role as a leader, as a department chair, as a dean, as a president. And now here we are 30 years later, we have 90 business school deans that are from the project. So 90 deans that are diverse. And when you think about the impact a dean has on a business school, where they can drive policy and procedures and how they recruit and how they retain. And then we have over 10, I think we have 10 or 12 presidents. So we have, universities where now our members are presidents, and that's where we have the greater impact, right? Where they can make different policy decisions, et cetera. So those are the two things I would point to: the individual stories, and there's many of them. Go on our website, you'll see video testimonials as well as 2 books that were written on our members. But then you also can hear the group successes, where we have some information on our website that tracks our statistics.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, here in 2024, there's a backlash against diversity initiatives. And the PhD project's purpose statement is front and center on your website: building a stronger, more diverse workforce together. Now, I believe that a diversity of voices and lived experiences leads to a richer tapestry of potential solutions to business challenges, and ultimately to better outcomes for academic institutions, for businesses across the board. The data supports that position. What do you say to skeptics that are pushing back on the need for a more diverse workforce and college business faculty?
So that is a very interesting point in time that we're at right now. I will say, so, and I'll do my little caveat: these are the opinions of Blane Ruschak, not those of the PhD project.
Yeah.
That while it sounds as if they're saying they don't believe in diversity, I think because the data is there, the importance of diversity in creating better teams and better business decisions. The challenge is they don't. What they're fighting against is the model of reserving spots for certain groups of people, right? To say, okay, I want to diversify faculty, so I want to make sure I hire an African American or Hispanic. I think deep down they support diversity. They just want to go about it a different way, which is open up that position to everyone, make it fair that everyone can apply, and then we'll choose the best candidate, and hopefully that will be that diverse, individual. So I think they believe in diversity, but they want it to be done differently than just, where people have started to set goals or we want to have certain criteria. I think if they listen to the students are telling us, and we have this in some of our videos, especially the one from our professor from Pepperdine, where the majority of students are saying, my class was totally different because I had a Black professor for the first time, and they brought about new ways for us to think and challenge our own thought process. And then the diverse students are seeing the role models and mentors in the classroom. So I think when people not only look at the data, but then listen to the students and say, what is it that you're looking for? And they say, well, I really would appreciate, what I guess the saying is, I have to see it to be it. They want to see people like themselves and go, wait, you were in finance on Wall Street, and now, that means maybe I could do that too. And so I think it's important that they recognize that. And kind of the new, I won't say slogan, but we're looking at is that diversity enriches education for all. So it's not about diversity for the sake of diversity, and it's not just about helping a certain ethnic group. It enriches education for all. And I think when people can understand that, along with the data and the facts that you mentioned earlier that show it is a definite business imperative, I think we'll get there. It's just a difficult time right now with people trying to figure out what's the right way to get there. And that's where we help schools. We're a pipeline program for them to say, if you want to diversify your faculty base, we can introduce you to people. It's up to you whether you want to hire them, but we can help you find the people to be considered in your talent pool for your professors.
Excellent. Again, cue the applause track. Fantastic. Thank you, Blane. We're going to take a really quick commercial break. We'll be right back with Blane Ruschak. Has trust broken down in your organization? Learn how smooth workflows enable accountability and unlock trust to create long-term business success. Learn more in my new book, The Balanced Business, available today at Amazon.com and wherever books are sold. And And we're back with Blane Ruschak talking about the PhD project and improving diversity in the ranks of business faculty in the United States. Let's shift gears just a little bit and talk about a core issue, which is the shortage of accountancy professionals. Almost everybody listening to this show right now can probably think of an example in their mind where they were not able to hire in the accountancy field or face significant roadblocks. I like to run thought experiments on the show. So let's suppose you have the superintendent of a public school system sitting right in front of you right now. What advice do you have for them to promote the accountancy career path to students and to prepare them for success?
The pipeline is real. It is a challenge, but part of it is that the profession, in my opinion, has not done a great job of educating the right people on what a career path in accounting is. So I do a seminar where I go talk to freshmen or high school students, and I talk about a career path in accounting. And first of all, I go through that there's 6 different career paths. People think about only a CPA or only their uncle that works as an accountant. Right? I go over public accounting. I go over private accounting. I go over government accounting. People don't realize the FBI and the CIA, and I find it amazing, like people who's really interested and want to be a part of this exciting, like they want to be, you could be an accountant for the CIA and do undercover, crime analysis. I mean, so they don't think about that. They don't think about nonprofits, right? Some people are really about purpose, and they don't realize, well, that Boys and Girls Club or Salvation Army, all of those need accountants. So now you can work as an accountant for an organization and feel good about what you're doing and help them with their budgeting and their fundraising, et cetera. I talk about the academic world, right? They're thinking the last thing I'm right now is to give out more school. But the career of an academic, later on after you've worked for a while, once you get the PhD and you go to a university to teach, especially in accounting, the research intensive institutions are hiring accounting PhDs at over $300,000 a year. And that's to teach 3 classes. And then they do research. So what an amazing opportunity. Summer's off. You do research on topics you like. And the last thing I tell them is entrepreneur, right? They say, well, I have my own business. I don't really need to know. Accounting will help you run and manage your business more successfully than any other, to me, discipline, because it helps you analyze the numbers, how you're going to get money for that business, how you're going to use your money, how you're going to maximize your investments. So I talk to students about that. And then I share a slide, which I'll be happy to share with you, Andy, and your audience. It is a way to share it. Public accounting progression. People don't realize. They say, well, why would I go into a 5-year accounting program to get my CPA and start at $70,000? That doesn't sound like that great. Well, you start at 70, but if you stay 2 years and you're a senior, you're making over 100. If you stay another 2 to 3 years, make manager, you're doubling your salary. You're making 140 to 150. And if you stay the 15 years, 12 to 15 years now to be a partner, you're talking $500,000 plus. So I just challenge, I ask people that are educating students, talk about the progression, the money, the opportunity to learn, the fact there's always jobs for accountants. You rarely see unemployed accountants. It's just, if there's a layoff, that accountant has multiple job offers the next week. So it's about security. It's about a challenging and interesting workplace. And once again, with those 6 different areas to go into, you can find something that aligns with your passion. And it's not just debits and credits. So we got to get rid of that. Debit and credit, that's so boring. That's not, we're talking about way higher level accounting than that, which is more analysis and strategic, et cetera. So I would love to get in front of every single high school business class and every freshman class and talk about it, but unfortunately I can't. But thank you for letting me, share that on your show.
Well, that's fantastic. The accounting profession generally it sits under this weight of all these stigmas that have accumulated over the years. Oh, tax season, killed my accountant, so I don't want to do that. Work for 120 hours a week for 3 months. I don't want to do that. I don't want to just sit and crunch numbers, the debits, the credits, all of that. It is a really is really a diverse, interesting career path, and I loved a lot of what you said there. We'll create a couple of shorts from those segments so that we can get them out to the short attention span listeners for sure.
Yeah, I've heard about that population. Yeah.
Yeah. So now shift the audience just a little bit. What advice do you, and the topic just slightly, what advice do you have for post-secondary academic administrators and policymakers to improve the accessibility of accountancy careers for these historically underrepresented populations?
Once again, I think it's having the data and then educating the students. There's a misconception out there, number one, just about programs in general. Business PhD programs do not charge tuition. So most students think, oh, I can't get a PhD. It's going to cost me a fortune. Business PhDs do not charge tuition, and they hire the individual as a research assistant. So there's a stipend. So while you're still living on, student wages, and you're typically at that point, you may be raising a family, it's doable because there's no tuition involved. Also, there's money out there. The AICPA just increased one of their scholarship programs to $15,000 a year, renewable, I think up to 4 years. So that, in addition to what the school's paying you, helps fill some of those gaps. There's a lot of other scholarships out there that are available. There are schools that are trying to attract diverse talent by offering, in-state tuition, even though they might be outstate. So there's so many programs out there, but it's knowing what they are and how to get the interested students to the right place. The matching has always been a bit of a challenge in terms of, the money's here or the opportunities are there, but the students don't always learn about it. And we got to plant the seed early. It's important that, like, we're actually talking to high school students about, down the road someday, we talk to college students, and we're talking to business professionals about. So it's building this idea that a PhD can make a lot of sense for them someday, and they have to decide when that someday is. But when they decide it is, we want to get you there, and we help make that opportunity available by having a free 2-day conference we do every year in Chicago, where we invite people. You have to apply for it, and if you're accepted, we bring in Chicago, and you have 2 days of sessions just about what a business PhD is and what it's not. And they leave knowing it's a research degree that has teaching with it, but it's research focused. They know exactly how it works, how many years it's going to take, and we also have a career fair where 100 universities come to try to hire those candidates into their PhD programs. So it's a wonderful setup to say, I think I'm interested. Let me apply. I may decide not to do it right now, but maybe 5 years later I will do it. So I would encourage any listeners that might be in one of those historically marginalized groups to consider applying for the PhD project.
Yeah. And taking the conversation, way back into elementary school, middle school. I think we need to reduce all the rhetoric that math is hard and that accounting and mathematics is just too hard for the average person to wrap their head around. The hardest math that an accountant does is algebra. I believe that is the case. And boy, we gotta break that stigma so that we can get more folks into this career path.
Yep, I agree. When we have the bring your parent or uncle or aunt to work day, bring your uncle that works in forensic accounting, that's out doing fraud audits and catching the crooks. Like that's what they need to hear, not the person who's sitting doing bookkeeping. And unfortunately, I think because there's nothing in the media that focuses on accounting, where everybody says, "Oh yeah, there was that one movie called The CPA." Well, that was about a killer. It was not about the accounting profession. So we don't have the benefit of having all these cool things in TVs and movies, and so we need to take advantage of these grassroots efforts in elementary school and high school that introduce people to the really exciting side. And now with AI, it's exploding. I mean, the accounting profession now with AI, every student their eyes should be wide open because we are embracing it. They will come in there and be able to use it to, learn amazing things and do amazing things. So I think now is the time for our pipeline problem to turn around.
Yeah. Awesome. So you were in charge of campus recruiting for KPMG for nearly 20 years. We've been talking about some matchmaking. I'm curious how campus recruitment practices have changed through the years. What's the primary challenge that businesses face in campus recruiting new accountancy talent today?
Yeah, so besides the competitiveness with STEM and finance, which are typically shorter degrees and might pay more money as a starting salary, it's many recruiting models have gone to a part virtual model. So you're trying to meet people and do hiring decisions, but based on not the same level of comfort in the past. So, in my day, your day, right, when you recruited, you would meet the recruiters of the firm so many times by the time you got to the office visit and got your offer. So you kind of already felt come with the company. Well, now it's like most first visits or most first interviews are virtual. So you're not getting the same sense of the person. And then maybe that second or third might be alive, but it seems like you're having to make decisions a little bit less of that comfort on both sides, the student and the organization. The generations have changed. Right. This new generation is looking at purpose and impact. And so sometimes trying to tell them, well, maybe that first year, whether you're in audit or any business you go into, maybe that first year, you're not going to be, saving lives. It's just like you have to learn certain steps. But this generation kind of wants a kind of this immediate payback of, I want to know I made a difference right now, and not every industry is structured to have that right now, feedback. And the last thing I'll talk about is they have to be extremely flexible and adaptable because the professions are changing so fast. And I'll talk to just public accounting, right? With AI right now, it's explosive. It's now, okay, we have these tools, but how do you use them ethically, be wisely, how to use them for the benefit of your client, but be, honest of how you've used it. So it's explosive, but if the student is the type that wants to just go in there, be told what to do and then do it, they're not going to succeed. They have to be come in there wanting to learn everything the firm throws at them and more. They want to come back and say, hey, I found this new thing that really does amazing stuff. So it's a different world. It's not a very structured stair step. Now it's people are learning in so many different multiple paths at the same time, which is great. But the challenge is, how do we make sure we are aligning our needs with those of the individuals that are looking for purpose and passion, all the things that I said it's important to find, but they want to find it on day one. I took a little bit longer to find it. So I know some of the challenges, but it's also fun because I find it very strategic to talk to a student about who thinks that investment banking is going to be nothing against a finance major, but investment banking is the end of that's everything. And I'm like, you realize you'll work a lot of hours. They'll kind of burn you out, and then you'll go get your MBA, which is great, and then you'll come back in a different role. And if that's the life you want, that's great. But not everybody wants that life. And you just need to know going in. It's also about education going in for any career path. What are my hours? What's my life, quality of life going to be? And then you make a good decision for yourself. And I think now with so much information out there on, websites and on, all the other, internet options, people can do a lot of good research on their own to know whether they're a good fit. There's very few mistakes anymore where people don't fit because they kind of already done all that work electronically as well as when they meet people.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the main messages here throughout this episode is that accountancy, the stigma layer that kind of lays over accountancy and has prevented some people from going into the industry, the boring number crunching only. Let's take that veil off because I'm hearing curiosity. I'm hearing critical thinking. I'm hearing creativity as being some of the really important skills and yes, there's some solid math involved, but gosh, it's a lot different environment today.
Yeah, agree. And interest in learning about new industries, right? Now, because of the ease of getting into markets, there are things popping up that are these startups that are in, industries we've never even heard of before, and they all want an accountant to go along the ride with them as they're
Yeah.
starting up out of the. And so I think these students need to understand they're going to be in the ground floor with some of these organizations, as well as some of the big behemoths that have been there forever. So a chance to explore all that. And I said, worst case, you learn a lot about business. You may decide not to stay in the profession, but you learn. And when you leave, you take away knowledge. My auditor instincts are still there. I will share that when I check out, if someone didn't ring me up and they tried to take my money, I'm like, okay, that's a way to pocket that money without recording it, and I make them ring it up as a receipt. And I like, that's just, it's embedded in me. And I think that's a wonderful thing, that you have these business skills that stay with you forever. So
Yeah.
I'm going to give it 2 thumbs up and more for accounting.
Awesome. Now for a little bit of fun as we close out the show, 2
Mm-hmm.
lightning round questions that I like to
Okay.
ask all my guests. First question, I give you a time machine. You can send a very short message to an earlier version of Blane Ruschak. What's the message, and what previous version of yourself do you choose to send it to?
The message is, look at new opportunities as exciting and not a negative thing, and just jump at them, as opposed to finding ways not to take advantage of them. And the person I would send that back to is the Blane Ruschak of 1994, who was very comfortable in Honolulu, thinking I was going to be there for the rest of my life. I was the senior manager. I'd set in my comfort zone, and I was never going to leave Hawaii. And this opportunity came up where they wanted me to go to Long Beach for 2 years and help out. And I just was finding every excuse not to go. And then they'd find out 2 more excuses for me to go. And ultimately I went, but I kind of went with not a great attitude, kicking and stomping, like, okay, but 2 years, you're bringing me back, right? And then I got there, and my whole life changed. I had the opportunity to work on some great clients, and then the chance to move into recruiting full time, which would not have ever happened in Honolulu. So, my note to myself is, you should have looked at that as an amazing opportunity, because every time I've moved, I've looked back and said, what a great experience that was. And so, I wish I would have looked at that first move a little more positively, and not been so kind of negative about, oh, the firm's making me move, I don't really want to go, because it really was an amazing opportunity that led to, an amazing career.
Awesome. Second lightning round question. We're all works in progress. What are you focused on right now in your personal journey of growth as a leader?
So I'm kind of at that tail end. You kind of go through your career. We've been with KPMG 42 years now. I'm with the PhD project for the last 5 of those. My goal now is really succession planning. It's building the people below me for the future of the PhD project. I think it's real easy that everybody wants to make a legacy for themselves. What's my impact going to be? And I viewed it more, I need to set up the organization so that the people below me, when the new leader comes in eventually, are able to just, to take this organization to the next level. And I think too often people forget about the succession part. They're worried about their own careers, and now I'm able to look back and say, but how do I want to leave it, and how do I want to make sure they're set up for success? So even if a new leader wasn't named for a while, they would be able to keep the machine rolling, and keep it with new ideas and innovations, et cetera. So I think at this point in my career, it's that piece that I'm focused on, and if I could do that, I will say I will have completed what I consider to be a very successful career.
You and I are very much aligned there. The word stewardship just routinely comes into my mind. I am a steward. I am here to take care of what is here and set others up for success after I am no longer here. Blane, final question. What's next for the PhD project, and where can people learn more?
Sure. PhDproject.org. Everything is there, including the conference, resources available. our 1,700 members, all the 300 schools that participate. So wealth of knowledge, as well as testimonials. I think if you really want to understand the PhD project, you need to read about our members and watch the videos, because you will realize these people are amazing. So many came from challenging backgrounds, and to be where they are today, making the difference they are, it's just so uplifting. So I think, the PhD project is our members, and that's really where you get the best flavor. What's next? Well, we're celebrating our 30th anniversary. So we're doing a few kind of regional celebrations. One is at DePaul, one of our major schools that has quite a few of our PhD project members as faculty. That's on August 7th in Chicago. So if anyone interested, reach out to us and we'll get you on the invite list. The second one is going to be at Rutgers in Newark on November 7th. Similar setup. We'll be showcasing our members to share a little bit about their research and what they do. There'll be a celebratory event and some kind of thank yous and welcomes, and hopefully some people from the local business community. So opportunity there. And meanwhile, we just keep on trucking along, trying to get more people in. So the next opportunity will be the March conference. So the applications are up on our website to apply for the March conference if you want to learn more. And then we have our summer conferences for all the disciplines that will be happening this August. So we're pretty busy, keeping all of our members busy. So
awesome. Well, Blane, thank you so much for your time and your contributions to our listeners today. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Andy. And anybody feel free to reach out to me. You want more information. So appreciate the ability to share about the PhD project and all we're doing, and thank those that have helped us out. For those that are on the call that may be part of a school or our member network, thank you for what you've done to help out.
Awesome. Well, my name is Andy Tempty. This is the Balancing Act podcast. You can find us on all the major streaming services. Please like, subscribe, rate, and most importantly, share this public good with your friends and your colleagues. The show is produced by Nicholas Tempty. We'll see you next time on the Balancing Act.